Most responsive header tutorials look fine until the product scales. In this video, I'll show you what actually breaks and how to design a header that survives real-world use. This is the very common header setup. Visually, it looks clean and well spaced, but as soon as the screen size changes, content grows, or labels get longer, the layout starts to fall apart. The issue here isn't the styling or spacing, is the structure. Most headers are designed as a single row of items. Everything lives in one flat out layout. So when the space becomes limited, all the elements start competing with each other for the spacing. There is no prioritization. The logo, navigation, and action all behave the same way. That's why this setup header is fragile. Instead of designing headers as a row of items, I redesigned them as zones. This small change makes huge difference. Now let's ungroup all the elements and let's set our zones. So left zone is going to be our header left. The menu items, we're going to call them header center. And the CTAs, we're going to call them header right. I split this header into 3 zones on purpose. I left the left zone for branding, a center zone for navigation, and the right zone for actions. So the logo lives in the left zone. This zone hugs its content. It should never stretch or collapse. The navigation lives in the center zone. This is the only flexible area of the header. If something needs to absorb the pressure, it should be the navigation, not the logo or the actions. The right zone constraints action are like login and setup. Just like the logo, these zones hugs its contents and stay predictable at all times. Now I'll wrap these zones into a parent layout. The parent fills the container and the spacing between zones will set to auto. Now that we have our parent layout, so let's add the padding on the left and right, top and bottom. And now when this is completed, let's select it. Let's add the background color. Gonna keep it white. So now you see all the header nav, we have to add them to fill container, okay? Now let's set the spacing to auto. Great. This is what allows the center to flex without breaking the edges. Now let's stress test this header. I'll reduce the width and add the longer labels and change the content length. Now you're gonna notice that the logos and the elements stay stable, the actions remains visible, and the navigation absorbs all the pressure instead of breaking. Headers, they are a critical element. If header breaks, trust breaks. This structure allows you to scale the products without redesigning your header every time requirements change. If you really want to take this to the next level, let's add the extra layer of constraints. Let's add minimum and maximum width values. Make sure when the header navigation resizes, it always stays visible and all the elements adjust correctly. So for the inner container, we're gonna add the maximum value. The width is gonna be 1280 and the minimum width value is gonna be 720. For our parent container, we're gonna add just the minimum width value, which is gonna be 824. Now let's add the correct alignments to the elements and make sure that the constraints and alignments are correct. So when we resize the elements, they all behave as expected. You see the elements still don't change properly. So let's undo this change and I'll show you what we need to fix. Now let's make sure we select our inner container and we set the constraints to fill container. Let's do the same procedure, and you can see when it reaches the critical point, which is 824 that we set up, the elements stop. We can scale it to the infinite basically, but it will never go beyond the points we've set. So this is how you set and you add constraints for the header navigation that will scale. If you add more menu items, you can see they all adjust as expecting. One takeaway: design headers as flexible zones, not as flat rows of items. If you get this right, the rest of your layout becomes much easier. In the next video, I will cover auto layout edge cases that break real products.